right, this is Cage-Side Jay with Cage-Side Mike once again on the drive-in. Our, not quite too often, but semi-regular podcast on our drive to work. Going to pick up on a few topics today. First one off the top of my head. Chuck Liddell announces his comeback to MMA. After about 8 years away from the sport, he went on Ariel Helwani's The MMA Hour, which isn't going to be the MMA Hour much longer because he's going to ESPN and the show's getting renamed. But in any case, goes on the MMA Hour, announces that he is coming out of retirement, that he's signing with Golden Boy MMA, which is, of course, Oscar De La Hoya's new MMA promotion, and that he's looking for the third Tito Ortiz fight. You know what? He's 48. There are plenty of reasons not to do it. There are a few reasons that I can see him wanting to do it, just missing it, wanting to stay in the game, that nostalgia factor. He's probably drawn to it, and he knows this is his last shot. Shamrock, Dan Severn, Royce Gracie, they all went at around, that age. So there's an argument to be made that it's been done before. But here's my question. Should Chuck Liddell have any business getting licensed or coming back at this point?
I saw all that. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't come back sooner because we all know he didn't want to go in the first place, right? He was I think Dana talked him into putting it down, and I think that was the right decision. Like, his last good number of fights, I want to say 3, 4, his last number of fights in the UFC, he got knocked out, and they were ugly knockouts.
Yeah, I think it was last 3 straight. The Rashad Evans knockout was in there.
That uppercut.
Yeah, Franklin was in there.
Like, everyone, most people love Chuck Liddell. If you watch him fight, you're going to get a good fight. But to see a guy go out like that, do I think he should come back? He doesn't need to. For what his career is, he probably misses the sport and everything, and he misses being around MMA. I see it from a promotional standpoint. If you're De La Hoya and Golden Boy, you want a name to kind of bring attention to your brand to start. And I guess Chuck Liddell is one of the few that's probably out there that you could do that with.
Is that the right kind of attention, though? Like, if you hear that a new promotion is coming back, and there's a limited amount of talent out there on the regional circuit outside the big promotions that's available for a new fledgling promotion to snap up. But is that the kind of name that makes you think, gee, I want to follow this promotion, they're making some good decisions?
Well, I think if you're just any attention, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to get attention brought to that promotion, right? It depends what they're looking for. And I think if you want that cheap pop, hey, we're going to have Liddell Ortiz 3.
And to an extent, Bellator did it with Kimbo Dada, Kimbo Shamrock, Shamrock Gracie 4. So it worked for them. They got the ratings. So, and I think that's almost part of the problem. The blueprint is there. This is going to get ratings. People are going to watch. The flip side of it is, I am somewhat okay if this is a Legends fight and it's Liddell versus Tito, and Tito's older as well. He hasn't had a knockout in over a decade. Hasn't knocked anyone out, is what I mean when I say that.
Yes.
So, Liddell's not in serious danger. But at the same time, he comes out and says, I want 1 or 2 fights, and then I want John Jones. I don't know what world Chuck Liddell is living in, but that is not going to be happening. I can't see anyone, any promoter in their right mind, and certainly not the UFC, booking that fight.
No. And when I saw it was going to be Tito, if this is happening, I think that's probably, if Chuck is coming back, and it looks like that's happening. If he comes back, I think the best fight for him to be in that's kind of safe is against Tito, right? Because like you said, Tito's not going out there knocking people's heads off. He's Tito. He may throw a submission, he may do some ground and pound, and use his wrestling. Now, my question is, so let's say that fight happens. What's after that? Like, is Chuck going to be happy with one fight and done, or is he going to want to keep going? Because from what he's saying, if he wants to fight John Jones,
he wants to keep going.
Then he wants to keep going, and 48, like, okay, the way that Chuck fought, power is the last thing that you lose, but I don't know if anyone really wants to see Chuck Liddell step in with John Jones.
Now, I want to say, I spoke to Jason Knight this week, who's fighting on UFC Liverpool, and actually this has just come out, so I asked him about it, and he's kind of of the opinion, if Chuck wants to fight a guy like Tito, that's one thing. Fighting a top guy is something else entirely at this point. But is this another argument to be made for a senior circuit in MMA where guys like Vitor Belfort, guys like Tito Ortiz, Shamrock, any of those names can go and compete against guys who are their own age, their own skill set, who time in the game haven't passed by that they can compete against safely? Do we maybe need to seriously look at that in MMA?
I could see I think the longer the sport goes, the bigger maybe the argument is to have that, because you have more of these guys, right?
Well, that's just it. I mean, you've got some original era guys who are still hanging on there. I mean, Belfort, if the Machida fight was his last, and that was a hell of a way to be knocked out, shades of the Machida Randy Couture fight, so it probably should be. So that should probably be his retirement fight. But I mean, that's a guy who's been going since the 90s. There's other guys too. Chill's been around for quite a while. He's still competing. Alexei Oleinik, who's still fighting in the UFC, he's been fighting since 1997. It's only a couple years removed from that last Royce Gracie fight, and if the money was right, I'm sure Ken Shamrock would fight someone somewhere. So you've got old-timers hockey, you've got the seniors PGA Tour. Maybe we do need a senior circuit in MMA.
Now, when you get into that, though, now, what kind of weight class are you running for that? Are they going to have their own belt? And I also question, too, how many of the guys of the older generation would be down with going to that. Would they see it as maybe a lesser weight class or a lesser fighting division than, because obviously Chuck Liddell still thinks he can go. He wants to step in with John Jones, who's, some people say, the best ever, right? Is a guy like Chuck Liddell going to be okay going down to like a veterans league or a more senior league where he's fighting guys around his age?
I don't know, because at the end of the day, I also wonder how serious Chuck is about that fight and how much of this is financially motivated. And my next question really is, if WME either keeps Chuck Liddell on in that cushy retirement job that we all thought he was going to have forever under the Zuffa era, or if they just never buy the UFC and Chuck stays with that get paid to do nothing, not show up to work kind of job. We don't really know what he was doing. I forget what the title even was, but he had that cushy retirement job that Dana hooked him up with. If that doesn't go away, is this even a thing? Is he even trying to come back?
That's a good question. It could be. It could. Who knows, right? I'm not too familiar with the kind of lifestyle Chuck Liddell was living, if he was being smart with his money or not. It could be very well. It's been 8 years, and he's ready to go. And he maybe he's seeing that window that just opened a crack still. And he's like, if I'm going to do this, this is my last shot of really going in and doing this. So it could be either. And maybe he just misses being around the sport as much as he was before WME came in.
And I mean, I want to say there's other options for that. I mean, there's coaching, there's working as an analyst, there's working as a commentator. Now, maybe that's not his strong suit, and maybe he just really has that competitive drive still. But it's going to be interesting, and beyond a Tito Ortiz fight, I'm not sure I want to see it. Very few people have come back that late, and the only one I can think of right now, really, who's still going and doing an okay job of it, is Mirko Krokop, who is on like an 8-fight win streak since coming back from retirement, and finished Gonzaga, finished King Mo. He's actually fought some names. Yeah, there's been a few questionable fights in there, but for the most part, he's fighting guys who are still formidable opponents. So he's done well at it. And whatever you think of the drug testing that he's under, because he's not USADA anymore, and because he had that kerfuffle with USADA when he was in the UFC, where he admitted to using something and then never tested positive for it, but they suspended him anyways. That's a whole other can of worms. But he's done well. I don't think Chuck Liddell is looking at the same kind of success. And the flip side of that is we weren't seeing Crow Cop. I mean, yeah, he lost some UFC fights, but he wasn't losing the way Liddell was losing.
Well, you're right. I think everyone should hope that Chuck Liddell does come back and doesn't have any of those bad knockouts, and maybe goes on a little bit of a run and ends his career the way that he wants to. Because regardless of what we think, whether he should come back or not, he's going to make that decision. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's doing that.
And he's got to pass the medicals. So that is the one thing that remains to be seen, if he can get past the medicals. But if he can, it looks like he's back, and he's going to be looking for that second chance at a happy ending.
Well, he's looking in good shape.
So did Ken Shamrock in that.
Well, yeah. But he's looking in good shape.
Fight.
Also, the sidetrack. Did you see the picture of Belfort before USADA and then his most recent weigh-in? How different he looked?
Oh yeah, I mean we've seen pictures of Belfort like that for years.
I almost forgot. I saw it the other day, and I was just before the UFC, and I was just like, wow. I was like,
if you want to see a better one, if you really want to see a better one, Mariusz Pudzianowski there, Puds over in KSW, his picture of when he first started in MMA versus what he looks like now. I mean, it's not like he's not in shape now or something, and he's just toned, he's not as bulky, but coming out of those strongman competitions, and I don't know what testing was like, and I don't know what testing's like in KSW, to be honest, or how much they do.
I feel like the strongman stuff, they have fairly decent testing, but I haven't really looked into it. The serious strongman stuff.
I want to say it looks like he lost a small human worth of muscle.
Well, Lesnar did the same thing. Well, Lesnar came from wrestling.
Lesnar wasn't as dramatic, though. Lesnar's always been a big dude.
Yes.
He was a little less jacked.
But he was very swollen when he was wrestling.
Yes, he was. And, if he comes back, he's going to have an issue. And that takes us to the next topic. And I think this one will be a little quicker.
Wait. I just want to say that we didn't even talk about these topics beforehand. We're just that in tune with what's going on that we just seamlessly transition. That's all.
Well, it's not actually Lesnar, though.
Oh.
It's not. You're close. But it was a good bridge, because it's a guy Lesnar has competed against in the WWE. CM Punk, we're weeks away from his debut, and we're at the point now where we can start talking about this fight, because it is pretty much set in stone, barring injury. Our site spoke to Mike Jackson a while back. He's predicting a finish. Both of these guys fought Mickey Gall in their one and only UFC fight. I believe Punk actually lasted longer. And they're both 0-1. And there's one telling thing about this, is that Mike Jackson didn't get another fight after the Mickey Gall fight either. Mike Jackson was brought in so that Mickey Gall could have a fight and not have an 0-0 record in the UFC before facing CM Punk. I don't honestly know why that mattered to the promotion, because Punk himself had an 0-0 record in MMA, period. Gall goes in, Gall steamrolls over Mike Jackson, flattens CM Punk and chokes him out, and, Mickey Gall's legit, and he's had a good career so far. Yeah, he's had a few losses, but he's obviously going to be a guy to watch as he gets older. Now we've got Mike Jackson and CM Punk. So the question is, who wins? Who wins a fight between two 0-1 guys, neither of whom have competed more than once in their career, both of whom have been out of the cage for about 2 years?
Well, first, I think the big thing to come out of this is Mickey Gall he's done very well coming out of this for himself. He was brought in basically to fight CM Punk, and now he's doing very well. Talking about these two guys, I almost feel like this is what Punk's first fight really should have been. It's something similar to this. Who wins? It'd be interesting. It's an interesting fight to see. I'm not too sure. It'd be cool if Punk won.
Is that going to enrage the part of the fan base who is just so anti-pro wrestling? I mean, I'm not a huge pro wrestling fan. When I was kind of the Attitude Era, and then even before that, when I was a little kid, and it was, Hulk slamming Andre and King Kong Bundy and all those guys. But I have no problem with them trying to make a go of it. I do get the argument that he's taking someone's spot, but I also see the promotion as a business, and they have a right to make money. And generally speaking, if Punk boosts, the profile of UFC 225, if he gets more eyeballs on the card, that's good for the other fighters on the card as well. It's good for the sport as a whole. But he needs to either win, or in my opinion, he needs to say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I do think he has a good shot at winning this because of who he's been training with. If he has stayed dedicated in the gym, it's not like Mike Jackson has been out taking a ton of fights and getting experience. So I think Punk might actually have the edge here.
You might be right. Now, two things. One, the whole pro wrestlers coming over to MMA, it's not new. It's huge in Japan. Sakuraba. I don't have a problem with it. And for CM Punk taking another guy's spot, CM Punk's, since he's signed, how long has Punk been signed for?
It was the end of 2015, I believe, that he actually signed.
So in 3 years, he's had one fight. And to say that he's taking someone's spot, I think if you're good enough to be in the UFC, it doesn't matter if there's a CM Punk there or not, they're going to sign you. For the number of fighters that they have, and for Punk fighting once in 3 years, I don't know if there's too much to be upset about. I think maybe, if you're a fighter, you might, in a way, it's bringing more attention to the sport, which is a good thing. It should make it more healthy. Punk went out, he didn't win. I wouldn't say he got embarrassed, but it was his first fight in circumstances. Like you said, if he's continued training like he has been training, and with the group that he is doing his camp with, he might be the favorite for this fight.
Now, if he wins, if CM Punk wins, then what?
What next?
Do you have to keep bringing in
No.
1-0, 2-0 guys for him to fight?
No, I think too the thing is it would depend on how he wins too, right? Like if he goes out and steamrolls this fight, then maybe you come back around and I'm not sure where's Mickey Gall in the standings right now, rankings.
I don't believe Mickey Gall is ranked.
So maybe you could spin it around and see if he looks really good. Maybe you do that fight again.
See, I think he's a ways away from being at that level. I think the issue here is it's time. At nearly 40 years old, CM Punk is not about to go on a tear in the welterweight division in the UFC. So the problem with...
He could retire. If he wins, he could say, you know what, I went 1-1. I did what I wanted to do. This is what I set out to do, and I've shot my shot, and I'm done.
And there we are. I think we're on the same page with that one. I really do feel that win or lose, CM Punk needs to call this experiment a done deal after this fight. If he wins, hey, cool, you get to go on and win. And maybe you use him in another capacity. Maybe you put him in the announce table. Maybe you put him in the booth.
And he can talk.
Yeah, and then you'll have the experience. You'll have a little bit to rely on, and a little bit of credibility. I mean, good on him for doing the experiment, but they can't just, dredge up cans for him to fight. And, there's really only so far this experiment can go, given his age and his experience.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Or he could go back to wrestling, I think.
And there's rumors circling that he might be, not WWE, but some other shows possibly towards the end of the year.
He is going to, slight side note, the All-In event that Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks are running out of Chicago. So he's going to be there. He's going to be doing signing.
So that might be your sign. All right, I think that is it for today because we just parked.
And we need to get coffee.
And we need to get coffee before
Tim
we get
Hortons.
to this office.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? Fun. Tim Hortons, fun the podcast.
There we go.
All right, thanks for listening, folks.
See you guys.